Good morning to all of you. Shri Arvind Mayaram, Secretary Economic Affairs, Dr. C. Rangarajan, Chairman of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, Dr. Raghuram Rajan, Governor, Reserve Bank of India, Dr. H.A.C. Prasad, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you on behalf of the Economics Division of the Ministry of Finance, Government of India, to the Delhi Economics Conclave 2013. I'm very happy to see amongst this distinguished gathering and in the list of speakers, Professor Nathan Nunn, Professor Romain Watriag, Professor Shang-Jin Wei, Professor Renato Baumann, Professor Ruth Patumuri, Professor Geeta Gopinath, and many others. I may begin by congratulating the officers of the Economics Division, led by Dr. H.A.C. Prasad, Senior Economic Advisor, for their untiring efforts to put together this conference. I compliment them for the choice of subjects and the choice of speakers. The conclave is about looking to the future. I recall the saying that all predictions are suspect, especially about the future. In this case, we've been asked to look ahead for the next 5 years. I can speak only in a guarded manner on the world economy or what it will be like in the next 5 years. There are incipient signs of recovery, but they are too tentative, too few, and too scattered. The three engines of growth are the United States, the Eurozone, and China. I hope we can add India to this list, given India's size, population, and potential. Of these, China is the obvious champion, but for reasons that are domestic and political, it is possible that China may wish to moderate its growth rate. If the US economy achieves a growth rate of 3% or more, that could trigger a worldwide recovery. The Eurozone faces many challenges. Germany's finance minister summed it up recently when he said that Europe, given its aging and stable or declining population, cannot aspire to growth rates of more than 1 to 2%. That leaves India, and I shall speak about India presently. We may therefore conclude that global growth over the next 5 years is likely to be moderate. As far as India is concerned, I may recapitulate briefly the events of the last 5 years. We may start with September 2008. The beginning of the Great Recession impacted India like it did every other country. India's response was traditional and strictly according to the textbooks. What stand out are the three stimulus measures. After declining to 6.7% in 2008-9, GDP growth revived in 2009-10 and 2010-11. But as Governor Rajan pointed out a few days ago, and I quote, while the stimulus did help growth initially, it eventually led to an overheated economy, high inflation and wage growth, and consequently deficits widening to uncomfortable highs. The current account deficit rising from 2.8% in 2010-11 to 4.8% in 2012-13 and the centre's fiscal deficit rising from 2.5% in 2007-8 to 5.7% in 2011-12, unquote. The task before India is to reverse these unintended consequences and lay the ground for faster, more inclusive and sustained growth over the next 5 years. The agenda, therefore, will be obvious. At the top of the list is fiscal consolidation. There can be no compromise, and I speak for the government, there will be no compromise on the decision to walk on the path of fiscal prudence and contain the fiscal deficit step by step, year by year, until we reach the goal of 3% of GDP in 2016-17. As we progress towards greater fiscal consolidation, we must pay attention to the revenue deficit as well. Borrowing should largely finance investment and not consumption. Along the way, the current account deficit would also need close attention. India cannot finance a current account deficit of the order of US dollars 88 billion as we did in 2012-13. Nor can India afford to pay for import of gold in the order of US dollars 50 billion or more. Nor should India import coal when it has coal in abundance. Nor should India tie itself in policy knots and be forced to import goods and commodities that it has the capacity to manufacture or produce. Next on the list is tackling inflation. It is common knowledge that the government of the day will pay a price for high inflation, especially if inflation persists over a long period of time. The current high inflation, both measured by the CPI or the WPI, is driven by high food prices, especially prices of fruit, vegetables, meat, fish, eggs, and milk. Sometimes pulses and edible oils also witness sharp spikes in prices.